To begin this topic, let me tell you a story about how I tried to retrain my brain and my brain fought back. All as I thought it was my brain, but it was actually the voice, the ego's voice in my brain. I decided one day that I'm going to retrain the brain, as I thought, of my psychic for success and positivity. I had read a lot of books, listened to podcasts, signed up for a course that promised to help me rewire my neural pathways into a high-performance positivity machine. And I thought, yes, I'm ready. Or so I thought. Then one day I woke up, looked in the mirror and said, "You are a winner, Jacinta." And the voice in my brain immediately responded, "Then why did you hit the snooze button 5 times? And I responded, "Okay, brain, rude." But I pressed on. Day 2, I said, you know what, today I'm going to practice gratitude. And I said, I'm grateful for my job, my home, my career, my morning coffee. And the voice in my brain cuts me off and says, "You burnt the coffee again. Maybe be grateful for a new coffee maker." Well, that was a fair point. I had burnt my coffee because my coffee maker was broken and I was just using a pan, like a saucepan to to boil my coffee. And of course it burned. So the mind took advantage. Then on day 3, I said, you know what, I'm gonna try visualizing success. So I closed my eyes and started imagining myself thriving, achieving my goals, and living my best life. And then my brain, the voice in my brain, interrupts, and I hear the voice say, "Okay, hear me out. What if we panic about that embarrassing thing we did in 2007 instead?" So there it was, the ego taking me back in the past, trying to rain on my parade. And it was really up to me to decide to either listen to this voice in my head or go on with my dreams and ignoring this egoistical mind. And at this point, I realized something important. That retraining your brain isn't about magically flipping a switch. It's about persistence, humor, and sometimes outsmarting that part of you that insists on reliving awkward moments and staying in the past. So if your brain, or you have accepted the ego mind to take over your day, to control your actions, reactions, and interactions, don't worry. You can still win this battle, and I'm going to show you how. It's your friend here, Dr. Mpali, and of Tap the Good Spiritual Counseling and Transformational Coaching Services. Let's continue with how to retrain your brain for success and positivity. According to psychology today, the way you communicate with yourself has a major impact on how you feel about yourself and others. Positive self-talk has the power to propel you to great heights. Negative self-talk can bring you down to the depth where you feel like giving up. If you find yourself regularly engaging in negative self-talk, beating yourself up about a bad grade or telling yourself you won't succeed, it's time to change the way your brain thinks. Or it's time to change the way you respond, react, and interact with your thoughts. Thoughts are not commands. Sometimes because thoughts are so normal for us, we think it's okay to think bad thoughts. We actually think it's normal to feel bad. It's normal to think negatively. But just because you feel that sadness doesn't mean that you should become the sadness. You should be sad. And it turns out it's possible to teach an old brain new tricks. There are ways we can reset our thinking to include more positive thoughts. To see how that works, we must first understand some of the most common negative thinking patterns. There are several types of thinking patterns, also known as cognitive distortions, that we engage in. These thinking patterns have a tendency to influence our brains to tell ourselves that something is true when it's not, being in denial, reinforcing our negative thoughts. And as a matter of habit, if you're so used to blaming everyone and thinking about what's wrong and thinking about your boss or what you don't have, it has become a habit. Now your body has become your mind. So everything is ingrained in your body, and it has become a subconscious habit that happens automatically. So these subconscious behaviors just happen automatically, like blinking, and you consciously aren't even aware that you're thinking negatively or that you're complaining. You think it's the norm because you have accepted these negative experiences to be your friend, your reality for so long. Now that memorized emotion is controlling your behavior. So once we understand and identify which distortions show up in our negative thinking, we can counter them with more positive thoughts. So I'm going to give you a list of 10 common cognitive distortions. Number 1, filtering. Mental filtering is when we filter out the positives of a situation and only focus on the negative. For instance, that student left during my presentation, therefore my presentation was bad. So it's almost as though you're projecting how you already are on the environment. So you're reacting, you're perceiving the environment as you think. Maybe you already have a lot of fear. Maybe your experiences haven't been the best, of course, like for every one of us. And you have decided to choose out certain memories to rule the way you perceive, to be the anchors on how you perceive. So you filter. So even if somebody does what they do, you are always looking for what's bad because you're projecting from a place of negativity. So your brain is definitely looking for something negative. For instance, you determine, today I'm going to see a red car. And you go out there and actually you start seeing a lot of red cars because that's what you have determined that you will see. So filtering is based on the notion that you subconsciously determined that the negative is going to rule. So you're projecting from that place of negativity, and that's how you're going to perceive your circumstances. Number 2, polarized thinking. It's also known as black and white. Polarized thinking is when we believe there is no middle ground. Either something is perfect or failure. Or a failure. For instance, someone saying, I missed that one question, so I did badly on the test. So it's like you're generalizing, you're chunking up things. So just because something happened a certain way and you're just going for everything that you're just compounding and concluding that particular event to be all negative. You are just black and white. You are not flexible in your perception. You're very decisive, and you tend to go on one end of the spectrum. You're thinking that there is no middle way. There is no other option. There is no other idea. How you see it is exactly how it is. There are no other interpretations of what you're seeing or experiencing. And then number 3 is overgeneralization. Overgeneralization is when we conclude that because of one bad experience or experiences related to that will be bad. For instance, I failed that test. This is going to be a horrible term. So you're chunking up things just because you had one negative experience. Now you have decided that all other experiences are going to be bad. Then point number 4 is magnifying, I would say, because catastrophizing is a hard word for me. So magnifying is when we exaggerate the negative details of an event, making them a much bigger deal than they actually are. And that is projected from a point you're already in too much pain and you want to justify your emotional pain. So if something happens outside you, if you go through an experience that has some qualities or has some similarities with what is really hurting you, you're going to use that external event to magnify and help you support your already painful memorized emotions so that your brain doesn't think you're crazy. So you magnify, you exaggerate. And what you're exaggerating might not, is just that exaggeration is a reflection of what you're going on, of what's going on in your mind, what's going on emotionally. So you're feeling horrible, you're feeling sad, you're feeling angry, you are mad at your boss or your husband or your wife. So then you meet, maybe your neighbor's dog comes and maybe breaks through or jumps your fence and comes and shits next to your swimming pool, and then when you call the police and then you tell the police that the dog just was very loud and the feces went in your pool, and oh my god, that was terrible. So it's almost as though you're using this experience to express your already prevailing anger or sadness or whatever else you're feeling. And then number 5 is jumping to conclusions. When we jump to conclusions, we make a hasty judgment or believe something to be true without bothering to consider all the facts. You know, it's like when you have a history or when you've been through some horrible experiences, your psychic becomes, and you believe those experiences to be your finality. Your psychic is programmed to only see the negative. You are projecting from a place of negativity, so you conclude that everything else is negative. So it doesn't matter what's happening. You are in a conclusive form, you know, mode, state of mind. You are not even waiting. You're already tired. So somebody says something or doesn't say something. Somebody reacts, interacts, or responds in a way that is probably not conclusive. For instance, you send out an email to a colleague, or you call them and they don't call you back for a couple of hours, and then you start concluding that they hate you, you have a problem, why don't they like you, they are rejecting you. So it's not them, it's you jumping to conclusions because you're already in that state of mind that shit, crap, things are not good for me, so how can this be different? So you have created your own external hell, like you have created a hell within you, and you think everything else that is coming in your experiences is going to contribute to your perception of that hell. Then number 6 is personalization. This is a cognitive distortion when we take everything personally and we compare ourselves to others. You know, somebody's screaming, you are in a meeting and somebody's screaming and yelling and they're responding to you in that state of mind. And then you think it's up to you. But we have to remember that perception is projection. Behavior is a projection of an underlying condition, an underlying story at the back of one's mind. As within, so without. People only act as they feel. They respond as they think, as they perceive, as they feel. It's very, very rare to find a very happy person screaming and shouting in anger. When someone is angry, they're gonna scream and communicate with that anger. When somebody is insecure, they're gonna lie. So whatever someone is feeling or being within their inner world, the conditioning of someone's inner world is what is projected in their behavior. So that brings us to the conclusion that whatever people do is their business. Just as you also know that you act from a place of your own conditioning, beliefs, and values, you also know that nobody can make you feel the way you feel unless you let them, unless you let those experiences determine or define your emotions. But we have to remember, as we have to remember that we are in charge, we also have to remember that people are in charge of their behavior, and their behavior have nothing to do with us. Point number 7 is control fallacies. There are 2 types of control fallacies. If we believe we are externally controlled, we perpetually see ourselves as the victim of external forces. If we believe we have internal control, we imagine that other people feel a certain way, pain, happiness, sadness, etc., because of something we did. So let me break that down. If we believe that we are externally controlled, so you go out there thinking that, I'm always controlled, I'm a victim of circumstances, people have always controlled me, probably because you have an underlying story that is based on a historic event where you were so controlled. Maybe your father was controlling your mom, and then you kind of like picked that up. Maybe you've been in a relationship where you've been so controlled, so your psychic believed the control to be the reality. So now you've developed this victim mentality, and you think that people are always controlling you. And if you believe that, then you're going to move around like a worm, like someone who doesn't have your power. You've literally given your power away to external forces. And the other type of fallacy is when we have internal control. Mainly people control others. We tend to want to control others, or try to control others when we don't have a grip, when we can't control the way we feel. We feel insecure. We know we cannot manage our emotional well-being. Maybe our emotions are on fire. We are angry. We are insecure. We don't know what to do. So we go outside of ourselves and project control upon others. We want to think that if we can maybe control the external world, we can control the internal world, the other people's behavior, reactions, interactions, or external, events that are literally uncontrollable. Then maybe somewhere, somehow, whatever is overwhelming us can back down. But we forget that we never, ever, ever get what we want. We get who we are. If you can't control yourself, you don't expect to control other people, so that whatever is within you that you believe you can control will disappear. If you have an emotion, an underlying overwhelming emotion, it's better to sit with it without interrupting it. Recognize it and let it live fully within you. Don't jump on it, and it will eventually dissolve, because what keeps it alive is your attention and belief in it. So if you can control the way you're using your inner powers, the power of focus, the power of attention, the power of engagement, the power to think and decide, if you can use your powers to control your inner world, then you don't have any business controlling the outer world. You won't have the need. And then point number 8 is blaming. Blaming is when we either blame others for our emotional pain or blame ourselves for every problem. This is also, we've given our power away. We've given our power away to the external world. We are blaming them for our inner well-being, or we are blaming ourselves for, we are guilty. We have accepted guilt as our way of being. So we are blaming others. We are blaming ourselves. We've given our power away, both to the egoistical mind for self-blame, or the external world as we are blaming others. But I once heard this amazing quotation, and it goes that if you blame other people, you feel better. But if you blame yourself, you get better. Point number 9, always being right. Similar to how it sounds, when we engage in this distortion, we believe we are always right, and we'll argue with people who think otherwise. We want to be right, and that is normally propelling from a place of insecurity. We are struggling with our own self-limiting beliefs and lack of self-belief, and looking out of ourselves for external validation. We want validation because we feel like we are missing something. We've not yet identified our fullness. We are not in ourselves. We believe we are not enough. We need more. We need to control. We need to dictate. We need to work so hard to overshine others, because inwardly we feel small. We have not learned how to feel ourselves with ourselves. We haven't learned how to sit our souls in its seat and know from what our personal powers can do for us. And then point number 10 is emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning is when we believe that everything we feel must be true. It's like you believe your feelings and your thoughts more than you believe yourself. So if a thought pops into your mind, you think it's a command. You jump on it and think it. And if an emotion pops up in your heart, you start defining it, because you believe that you really have to define how you feel. Moreover, those emotions are just projecting from historic events. They are buried energetic chemicals that are just coming to surface to show you what you need to release. You don't have to define them. You don't know why you're there, why they are there, and you don't have to fall into the egoistical trap to become your body or to let your emotions rule you. All right. So in a nutshell, the 8 distortions, common cognitive distortions are filtering, mental filtering. Filtering is when we filter out the positives of a situation and only focus on the negative. And then the second one is polarized thinking, only thinking that there is no middle way. It's either black and white. Number 3, overgeneralization, when we conclude that because of one bad experience, all experiences are bad and related. Number 3 is magnifying, when we exaggerate the negative details of an event, making them a much bigger deal than what they are. Number 5, jumping to conclusions. Number 6, personalization. This cognitive distortion is when we take everything personally. Number 7, control fallacies. 1, when we believe we are externally controlled, and when we perpetually see ourselves as a victim of external forces, and when we believe we have control, internal control, we imagine that other people feel a certain way about us or because of something that we did. Number 9 is blaming ourselves and blaming the world, blaming our problems. So pity. Number 9 is always being right, being righteous, thinking everybody else isn't right and you're the only right person, Number 10 is emotional reasoning, when we believe that everything we feel must be true. All right, so here are 8 steps to retrain your brain to curb negative thoughts. Number 1, be aware of your thoughts. The first and arguably most important step is to identify and accept your thoughts. Once we are mindful of our thoughts, we can understand which negative thinking patterns we engage with most and detach from believing they are true. And that could be, you can do some mindful meditation or prompted awareness. Prompted awareness is when you become aware of your thoughts in the moment, becoming conscious of your thinking patterns. And then number 2 is turn negatives into positives. Everyone has negative thoughts. We all do, whether they disturb us, but whether they disturb us is a matter of whether we believe the thoughts to be true. Once we begin thinking negatively about something, we may begin to accept the thought pattern and allow it to control our mind and mood. However, once we recognize the thoughts, we can start to counter them and with positive ones. Research shows that positive thinking improves our psychological well-being and can lower rates of depression and distress levels. So next time you find yourself saying, this will never work, or everything is ruined, try to oppose that thought with a positive one. For instance, challenge your inner critique. The next time you become aware of negative thought, ask yourself, is this really true? Is this thought useful in any way? Asking these questions will challenge your negative thoughts and change your focus. And then number 2 is name it to tame it technique, created by author and psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Siegel. This method encourages you to label a negative thought pattern when it occurs. For example, if you call your negative thought a story rather than a reality, you are less likely to believe it. If you recognize a negative distortion as a magnifying, you are able to stop it. So you name it. And then you can also understand what triggers you. That's another way. In each of our lives, there are certain people, places, things in life that can set into motion a seemingly constant rush of negative thoughts. It can be final exams that induce test anxiety, or a certain teacher who you don't see eye to eye with. Identifying what triggers you will equip you with the tools you need to control and properly manage these emotions. And here are a few ways to spot your emotional triggers. Number 1, adapt the situation. Understand the setting that your emotional trigger occurs in and try to change it in your favor. This can mean anything from listening to calming music to removing yourself from the situation completely. Whatever you need to do to make yourself feel comfortable, do it. For instance, if when you are around a certain group of people, they remind you or they trigger negative memory, don't go around that people, You deserve the right to choose who you can relate with. And then number 2 is adapt your thinking. In order to mitigate your emotional response, try to adapt your thinking before you begin to react. If you feel your emotions start to rise, take deep breath and try to push your thoughts in a different direction. That means that be aware, be present. Don't allow the thoughts to put your actions. Be in charge. We have to learn how to be in charge of our emotional states. We have to understand consistently that thoughts are not commands. Just a thought pops up, just because a thought popped up in your mind doesn't mean it's commanding you to think it and then act it out. Just because we've been thinking for so long doesn't mean that we can continue thinking just because something popped up in our minds. And then number 4 is create a personal mantra. When we begin to think negatively, we'll call ourselves names or talk ourselves out of doing things because we fear failure. Creating and reciting a personal mantra is a positive way to change the path of your thoughts. Mantras are positive affirmations that you can repeat whenever you feel negativity creeping into your mind. You can use them to motivate and inspire you to the best way you can. Some examples of mantras I can make it happen, are, for instance, make it happen. I am enough. I got this. I choose to be happy. I'm beautiful. I'm radiant. I'm resilient. I got this. Nothing brings me down. Talk to yourself. In the Bible, they say that be you transformed by the renewing of your mind. How do you renew your mind? By self-talk, by observing your thinking patterns, by being conscious of what you think, how you feel, and from what point you act. Are you acting from a point in the past? Are you acting projecting a future? Or you're acting based on what is in front of you, on the now, or on what is real? And then number 5 is practice daily gratitude. We have so much to be thankful for in life, and we all lose sight of that sometimes. Research shows that developing a daily gratitude practice will cause you to have higher levels of optimism, happiness, joy, and pleasure. Spend a few times every day taking note of all the positives in your life, from your family members and pets to your good health and meaningful studies or work. And then number 6 is pay it back. Research shows that acts of kindness can increase happiness levels. Pursuing your hectic life to put a smile on someone's face has the power to make you forget about the negative thoughts that may be clouding your mind. When practicing daily gratitude, ask yourself, have I given back today? Gratitude is amazing, guys. Like volunteering and finding, it can begin by going into your closet and identifying all those clothes, shoes that you haven't used for the last 6 months. Even if they are new, if you haven't used them for the last 6 months, then you don't really need them. Pack them and take them to charity. Let somebody else who really needs those clothes and shoes take them. Or you create space for something new and something better. It can also be as small as smiling at someone you pass on the street, or as significant as volunteering at a homeless shelter once a week. All right, or maybe you can participate in a beach cleanup or pay for a stranger's coffee. Then number 7, switch up your environment. Our thought patterns have a lot to do with the world around us. If you find that a certain setting makes you feel stressed and depressed, consider switching up your environment. Whether this means changing jobs or going for a walk during lunch, it's important to give your mind the freedom and confidence to leave a situation if needed. Number 8 is develop a morning routine. Your thoughts begin the moment you wake up. Don't just pop out of bed and kick the alarm clock to the side and swear and say, God damn it, why am I awake? That's exactly what's going to be projected in your day. So it's important to develop a morning routine that allows you to take control of your thought patterns, kind of like prepare you for what is coming, which is the unknown, which is the unpredictable. You have to get back into your personal powers and know, kind of like fill yourself up. And when filling yourself up means meditate, be empty, be spacious, let go of what happened yesterday, let go of your fears, tame your mind, take charge of your mind so that it doesn't control you and turn you into its slave. Negative thinking patterns that become habitual can feel difficult to break, but if you practice these tips, you can live a more mindful life. For summary of how to retrain your brain, number one, I'll summarize really quickly. Turn negatives into positives. Be aware of your thoughts. That's mindful thinking. Be conscious. Number three, understand what triggers you. If you go to a group of people and they make you feel like choking yourself or putting up yourself for adoption to the aliens, don't go to them. Don't maintain their company. Or if you don't want to talk to somebody, there is no reason why you should talk to them. Don't talk to them. Trust your intuition. If you feel like someone is not really respecting your values, there is absolutely no reason why you should relate with them. And then number four, create a personal mantra. Like, come up with habits to create positive mantras about your life. Tell yourself in the mirror every morning, I'm enough, I'm beautiful, I got this, I'm youthful, I'm energetic, I'm resilient, I'm vibrant, I'm ageless, I'm energetic. Like, tell yourself the most beautiful things. Like, who cares? Who is there listening? No one except you. So do it for yourself. Number five, practice daily gratitude. Number six, pay it back. Number seven, switch up your environment. Number eight, develop a morning ritual. Routine. The way you begin the day is how it will run through. It's how it will, you will run your day. So be in charge. Get in charge. Don't allow your mind, your thoughts, your conditioning, and your environment to control your life. You are in charge, so do what's right for you. All right, guys. Enough of that. I'm sending you abundant love from my heart to yours. Peace and blessings. Bye.